Welcome to my new series where I answer all of your burning questions about American Girl dolls. If you're new here, hello! My name is Jonathan, but most people on YouTube call me Johnny, and I am a Pleasant Company expert and fellow demented doll collector. And if you're not new here, you might be wondering, where the are all your dolls? Well, after what felt like a real-life reenactment of the Oregon Trail, we finally made it to North Carolina. This is actually the first YouTube video I've filmed since moving, so you might notice that things look a little bit different. All of my dolls are still in moving boxes. I haven't seen them in months, actually. Because truth be told, all of the videos you've been watching for the last several weeks were filmed earlier this year, so a lot has happened since I last saw you. I actually plan on filming unboxing my entire doll collection and putting it back up on display and making really long chatty videos, and you'll be able to find those on my Patreon at patreon.com/idreamofjohnny. There are already tons of exclusive videos there. I'm talking like hours and hours worth of doll content, drama, things happening in the doll community, American Girl news, and tons of unboxings. So I would love for you to check it out. It would really help support my channel and it means the world to me. So yeah, be sure to check it out at patreon.com/idreamofjohnny. But for today, I'm trying out a new series that's essentially a Q&A video for everybody's questions about American Girl, Pleasant Company, things about my collection, and everything in between. My DMs have been blowing up over the last year at people wanting to know more about Pleasant Company, and I just felt like this was a great opportunity for us to get to know each other a little bit better, and more importantly, learn more about American Girl and Pleasant Company. So now that you know what I've been up to, welcome to episode 1 of Ask an American Girl Doll Expert. Just a quick disclaimer, I actually get a lot of repeat questions, so I'm just going to answer the first person that asked the question. What is your dream historical American Girl character? This is actually pretty easy because I would just love to have one that is basically a replica of me. I know that sounds super narcissistic, but I think it would be so cool to have like a boy historical character based, like being like 9 years old in 1993, and the collection sort of being centered around loving toys and games and TV shows, which we all did. I feel like in that era, like we were really big into video games. And I know that was a lot of like what Courtney's story was like too, so I wouldn't want it to be too much of like a riff on what Courtney was, but I would really love to have like a 9-year-old boy and girl be best friends and sort of like navigating life as, you know, a 9-year-old in 1993. But the biggest thing for me, I would love to have like small, you know, 1/3 scale replicas of all of the toys that I had and wanted as a kid. I think that would be really, really cool. And honestly, I think it would be kind of cool if the boy doll had his own doll too. Again, it would be a really great way for American Girl to start marketing to boys, but I know that's probably never going to happen in terms of having such a boy-centric storyline, which is totally fine. It's called American Girl, but selfishly, I would love to see a historical boy doll along with like his best friend from 1993. Do you ever want to collect first edition Josefina pieces and a first edition Josefina? So that's actually one of the things that happened since you last saw me. I actually have a first edition Josefina now, and she is pristine. She's mint condition. She has her original factory braid and her original box, and she's stunningly gorgeous. So I wasn't originally planning on getting Josefina or her collection, but as I've gotten into the doll world as an adult, I've really grown to love that doll's head sculpt, and she's just a beautiful doll. I love her collection. So I decided just to go for it because I'm so deep in this now, but I lost interest in dolls as a child somewhere around like 1994, so I didn't realize that I just didn't know anything about Josefina until a few years ago. She didn't exist in my world. So yeah, as I've gotten to know more about American Girl and Pleasant Company, it just felt wrong to not have Josefina because I think at this point I'm trying to collect everything that Pleasant Company made during the Pleasant Roland years, so from 1986 to 1998. So yeah, I already have a first edition Josefina. I actually have a prototype head of Josefina, which is very awesome. I actually unboxed it on the Patreon channel and went into all the details about the auction, winning it, and all the details I could find out about the doll. So yeah, I have that, and I also have a small handful of her outfits. I'm probably not going to get her accessories, at least not at this point, but I would really love to have all the outfits that were available in 1997 and 1998. So I've got a good head start on Josefina, and I'm just looking for good deals as they come up. Have you completed your original 1986 Pleasant Company collection? I am so close to finishing. The only things left on my checklist are Kirsten's lunch and Kirsten's bed. I have everything for Molly and Samantha, which was a gigantic feat to overcome because, as you know, Molly and Samantha each have some Christmas accessories that are basically impossible to find, including Samantha's edible gingerbread house in the original 1986 packaging. That was like a big challenge to find, and it was a really great day when I finally got it. But for some reason, Kirsten's lunch keeps slipping through my fingers. I just have not been able to get one after years of looking. And I've seen her bed come up a few times, but I'm just waiting for a super good deal. And honestly, to find one that isn't broken, because most of them are broken. But yeah, as of right now, it's pretty much just Kirsten's lunch and bed, and I have everything for the girls from 1986. Now, that said, I did actually just get a brand new trunk, and this one was actually purchased from Pleasant Company in the summer of 1987. I know this because the person I bought it from got it in a lot with a signed doll that she purchased, and that doll was in the 800s. So I actually have the original receipt for my signed Kirsten, who's number 702, and she was purchased in August of 1987. So number 800 would be from right about that time. So that would mean that this trunk was purchased originally in the summer of 1987. What I don't know is if this was part of the original production run in 1986 or if this was part of a later run. So that still I need to kind of figure out with a little bit more digging. But for now, I'm not on like a super active hunt for a trunk anymore because my last trunk was from 1994. So I'm really, really glad that I have one from basically within the first 12 months of production. But if I can find one that might be like 100% confirmed purchased in 1986, that's what I'll get. So, other than maybe possibly needing a new trunk, it's just Kirsten's lunch and bed, and then I will have absolutely everything. That said, over the years, I'm going to continue to try and find more mint condition versions, like pristine in their original boxes. And I do have a lot of that already, but to me, like I want what I call the perfect collection, which is basically everything looking like it was just shipped to my doorstep from Pleasant Company in 1986. So I want pristine boxes, pamphlets, tissue paper, like every single piece. So it's quite a feat to accomplish. And I've gotten a lot of the way there, but to have like a pristine collection, it means I'm going to continue to buy some of these things as I find versions that are better than what I already have. So, I mean, I still feel like I'm in it for several more years, if not a lifetime, to try and achieve that. But for right now, I'm really, really happy with my progress because phase 1 of my 1986 collection is almost done. Please talk about your display techniques and ideas because yours looks really great, and please give us an update on your new display. Well, first off, thank you. That actually means a lot to me because I worked really, really hard on my last display. Obviously, right here, we're just chilling with Addie and a couple of lamps and a trunk. But my last collection display before I packed everything up to move, I spent like a year trying to get all of that tweaked and looking good. So it takes a long time to kind of figure out exactly how you want to display your collection. And yeah, it just takes a lot of experimenting, especially because if you collect very actively, you're going to be bringing new things into your collection, selling some things. So it's going to be constantly evolving as time goes on. But one of my biggest tips is I think it's actually worth investing in good display cases if you have the space and money to do so. Because when I first started, and I know most collectors when they first start, they just basically pick a dresser or just like a little spot or like floating shelf in their room to kind of display what they have. And that's a great way to get started. But as your collection continues to evolve, it's really nice to have a dedicated display area and like proper backing and everything, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. That's actually one of the great things, is that I personally think that the cheaper and more simple your display is, the better. Because if you think about, like, say for instance you have like a lot of Truly Me dolls or like American Girl today, you probably don't want like a big heavy like Victorian piece of furniture with lots of appliques and gold foiling and stuff, because it just doesn't look good with a modern collection. But I think if you have really simple neutral colored shelves, you can display anything on it. And I personally think that my display looks great on a dark background, but I might ultimately go with the lighter ones just because it looks better on camera. But yeah, I just think it's worth putting a little bit of money into your display itself, because it just really helps you appreciate your collection that much more. And even with me, like when I first invested in we were talking like, it was probably like $300 just to put all this together, which sounds like a lot when you're like, well, I'm trying to buy like more white body dolls, and that's like a white body Molly. If if I spend that money on display shelves, then that's a doll that I can't have. So it was really kind of hard to get past that mental hurdle of spending money on anything that isn't part of the collection. But it really is, in my opinion, worth the money to invest in shelves that look good in your space and highlight your collection really well. As far as actually putting the display itself together, I think one of the biggest things I like try and keep in mind is just remembering to use basic design principles like scale, proportion, hierarchy. Those kind of things are really gonna help balance your display out and sort of make it more interesting to look at. I know a lot of people really prefer doll displays where they have everything just where it's like doll, 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 and everything is very like repetitive, and a lot of people really like that because it's simple and you can really just kind of focus on each doll. But for me personally, I really love mixing in accessories and books and different things to kind of create texture and almost create like a story with the collection. And to me personally, I really love the way that looks because it sort of reminds me of the catalog in a way. And that's kind of, again, how I kind of think about how I'm putting my display together is I think if I were going to put something together to make like a photograph or a lookbook and a catalog for this stuff, what would I do to make it interesting and give it depth and texture? And that's why I love having some of my dolls sitting down. Some things are propped up on books. And if I have like duplicates of some things, those I'll like to like put in a row so you can see like the subtle variations and changing different shelf heights. Like I said, I like to have some of the dolls sitting, and you can even see here, this shelf here is where I have two dolls sitting, but then the main doll will be standing on the taller shelf. And that kind of stuff just really adds dimension to your display. And I think that's something that's really fun to play around with. Like that's one of the things that I loved most about doll collecting is being able to play around with the display and really make sure that things just like almost look like my own version of the catalog. And again, that was just so relaxing to me. So I would definitely say like dive into that and really invest your time into figuring out how you want your collection to look, because it really can take you from feeling like really overwhelmed, like you have too much stuff, to basically making some order to it. It really can help you feel a little bit more at peace about all the doll stuff you have. And if you're wondering, the shelves I have behind me are the Billy shelves by IKEA, and they're super affordable. I think they look great. I would say maybe my only criticism is I wish they were about 2 inches deeper, because some things do kind of poke off the shelf a little bit, but they're a really great budget option that most people have access to. And yeah, I just think they're really great. And like I said, at some point I probably will do custom built-ins in my house, but for now, these work great. Have you considered building a diorama for your American Girl dolls? Yes, I've actually thought about this a lot actually, and that kind of goes back to what I was just talking about with really trying to make a really textured, deep display. I've been thinking about doing things like digitizing Molly's wallpaper and lining one of the shelves, like the back of it with that, and potentially like putting some like furniture pieces in, and really trying to make something that's somewhere between like the display I had previously, where it's more of like sort of like staging a catalog or a museum or a store, versus like having an actual dollhouse. And while it's always kind of been my dream to build and decorate a dollhouse, I do really kind of love the idea of doing something that's a hybrid between just a standard display and a dollhouse. So maybe take elements of it, maybe have like even just one shelf with some like crown molding, maybe a door and some wallpaper, and then others are just a little bit more plain. But yeah, I think diorama is actually a really great way to describe my ultimate goal for my display. Which doll would you never part with for any amount of money? That doll does not exist, because unless I had like just the most pristine numbered doll, like we're talking like single digits signed by Pleasant Roland, I'm probably gonna consider everything in my collection for sale just about, because that's just how I've built such a really deep, I mean, and at this point, honestly, a valuable collection, because I've spent so much time basically picking some things to sell and upgrade, and I've just done, you know, for the last year or two, really focused on upgrading my collection. So, you know, I've had a lot of signed dolls, and I'm down to only having 3 right now. And, you know, a lot of people would say if I ever got a signed doll, I would never let go of her. But I just found better ones. So when I find better stuff, I sell it. So even though like my probably most prized doll right now is Samantha number 230, signed by Pleasant Roland in October of 1986. That is my most treasured doll right now. But if I found number 190, I'm going to get her and probably sell number 230. So there really isn't a doll that I, at this point, wouldn't sell for a good price. So I have to say it's probably not even a doll that I would hold on to. I would say if I had to keep one thing in my collection that I would be scared that I would never find again, it's Samantha's edible gingerbread house from 1986. In the original packaging, complete, like unbroken and everything. That I might never see again. So if I had to sell absolutely everything but one item, it's going to be that gingerbread house. Have you ever met or communicated with Pleasant Roland? Unfortunately, no, because I don't know how many of you know this, but Pleasant Roland is actually very inaccessible. So she does not do interviews. She doesn't talk about American Girl. That I think she just considers part of her like past life, and it's a chapter that she's sort of closed and is not looking to revisit. I mean, if you look around, there are very, very few interviews with her online. I know that there's one that she did a speech, and I want to say it was at the 20th anniversary at American Girl. She gave a speech there, and I think it was very short, which again, is just a rare appearance by her. She's not a very public person, and from what I've heard through the grapevine, she's just a very private person. So I obviously have no intentions of trying to reach out to her or try and meet her or anything, because I respect her decision to be a private person and not want to talk about this stuff anymore. So, ultimately I would love to connect with some of the early employees at Pleasant Company just to see if we can dig up some more information. Because spoiler alert, I'm working on a Pleasant Company documentary and I'm trying to get as much information as I can. But as far as Pleasant Roland goes, I think she's been pretty clear about not wanting to, dive back into the world of American Girl, and I respect that decision. How can you tell what year a white body doll was produced? So that's a super in-depth question that I can't really gloss over, in a few sentences in a video like this. But I am actually working on a really in-depth collector's guide, and right now it's just digital. I've tossed around a few different ideas of how I want to present it to the world. I don't know if I want to do YouTube videos. I don't know if it needs to be a website, but the idea that I've been playing around with lately is I think I might actually want to publish a book. It would be completely self-published, so I wouldn't have to answer to anyone as far as what can or can't be in the book. But yeah, I just would love to do at least one book of all of the original Pleasant Company dolls, and just, again, a really good collector's guide from 1986 to 1998. And actually, if you're interested in purchasing something like that, please let me know in the comments, because if there's enough interest in it, I definitely will make one. But yeah, to answer your question, you really have to look at a lot of the details, like their eyes, their teeth, the wig cap, the joint cups. It's a lot of different features that really kind of help distinguish one from the other. One tip I will give you is that neck stamps generally aren't super helpful unless you are really, really well versed in neck stamps in early Pleasant Company, because there were a ton of different ones and they were used across multiple years. So they're not as helpful as things like the tooth paint, the eyelash length, the neck string shape. Yeah, it's just a lot of really subtle details that changed sometimes every few months. So again, I'm gonna do a more in-depth collector's guide and maybe some more videos to talk about specific years for each white body doll. So yeah, we're gonna get a lot deeper into that in a later video, so please stay tuned. Do you exclusively collect historical dolls? Mostly yes, and it's mainly just because historical dolls were the only ones that were available by Pleasant Company when I was a child, because the American Girl of Today line didn't launch until 1995. And again, I didn't know anything about that until a few years ago. So the only other childhood collection as far as Pleasant Company goes that's outside of all the dolls from the first three all the way through Addie are our new baby dolls, which is the precursor to Bitty Baby. So I do collect those as well. So they're not technically historical, but I mainly try and collect stuff from Pleasant Company from 1986 to 1994. But lately I have started to get back into the Girl of Today line because I just love it so much just as an adult, because it's still a really big throwback to the 90s. So I've been gradually working on that collection again too. So while I don't exclusively collect the historical stuff, it is the main part of my collection. And if I were to go to downsize my collection quite a bit, to get it down to the bare essentials, it really probably would just be Molly, Samantha, and Kirsten and all of their accessories. All right, one more question, because I'm still getting used to the North Carolina heat and I'm starting to sweat. And finally, do you have any tips for finding good deals on older or rare American Girl dolls? So my biggest tip with that is actually just to stalk eBay. Like, that's really the only way you're gonna find really great deals on American Girl stuff. And you have to know what you're looking for, because let me tell you, people like me and other collectors know exactly how to spot a 1986 Samantha doll just from a thumbnail. So you have to be really quick. You have to know your basically. So if you're looking for a 1986 Samantha, you need to learn exactly how to identify her and exactly what she's worth, because to some people it might look like $800 is too much to spend on a Samantha doll, but if that is an amber-eyed Samantha doll with chipped teeth from 1986, you know, $1,000 is a good deal. So you really have to know what you're looking for and what it's worth. And one of the ways of doing that is you can go look at the eBay sold listings. If you put that filter on to see everything that's sold over the last few months, you can see what certain things are worth based on what people are actually willing to pay for it, especially if it's something that was on auction and there's multiple bids on it. That's a really good indicator of what something's worth. So you know, if something had 28 bids on it and it was bid up to $500 and you see one for $300, you might want to go ahead and snap that up for $300, because even if you change your mind, you can turn around and sell it and get your money back and maybe even make a little bit of profit on it. So just really learn what things are worth and just watch eBay constantly, because that's what we're all doing. The only other place other than Mercari, which I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Mercari, which I won't get into in this video, but it's really hard to find good deals on Mercari because people will message sellers when they see something was sold for a really good rate, and it will ruin your day. Trust me, it happens to me all the time. So you can find some good deals on Mercari occasionally when people are behaving. The other great place to find really good deals for some people is on Facebook Marketplace. And that's specifically Marketplace, not the doll groups, because you can find really great items and rare items in doll groups, but you're pretty much going to pay market value for those dolls, because it's just, no one's going to sell something for $100 it's worth $1,000. It just doesn't happen there. So if you want to find a good deal, sometimes you can find things locally. And I've had friends that have found really great items that, you know, like a 1986 Samantha, for instance, I've seen people find them for like a couple $100 because somebody's just cleaning out their attic and wanting to know if anybody locally will buy it. So if that actually happens to you, when and if it happens, be sure to message the seller immediately and get in your car the minute you hear from them that they still have it. Tell them that you're gonna buy it and that you have cash in hand and you're getting in your car now to go get it. And do not hesitate, because I will guarantee you that the community will find out, even if you live in some tiny little town in the middle of nowhere and that pops up, that is going to end up in the doll community somehow or another, and it's not going to be available long. And let me tell you, people will come in and they will try and get the seller to ship it to them. So if nothing else, like even if the seller doesn't want to ship, like they're going to be told that that's a valuable doll. So you need to get in your car and go get it in your hands and speed away as quickly as possible. Because I have known so many people that have gotten in their car and halfway on the way to go pick something up, they get a message from the seller saying, oh, sorry, somebody offered me twice as much. I'm not going to sell it to you now. So that's like kind of one of the caveats of purchasing on Facebook Marketplaces. You have to be really quick, because doll collectors are vicious. That is actually a part of collecting that I really hate and I don't participate in. If somebody gets a really good deal on something, I leave it be, because that's what I want for somebody to do to me. But it is an unfortunate aspect of doll collecting that there are just a bunch of in the community that would rather get a rare doll than just be a decent person. So I won't get into that. That's the kind of stuff we talk about on Patreon. But yeah, the short story, like the best way to get really great deals on things is just to sit on eBay all day like the rest of us. All right, that's going to do it for today, but there are so many more questions I still have to answer because y'all were blowing up my DMs, but I'm so excited to get to the rest of them. Be sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss the next episode. And again, it just really helps me out if you hit the subscribe button, the like button, ring the notification bell, and leaving a comment. That also really helps my videos. I really appreciate all of that interaction because it helps make my channel more available to more people. And again, it just means the world to me. And if you really love doll videos, I would love it if you would join me over on Patreon at patreon.com/idreamofjohnny. It's where I talk about all the doll news and releases. I unbox all the things that come into my mailbox every week because I'm still buying a ton of doll stuff and I'm going through all of it on Patreon. And honestly, there's a lot of drama that happens in the doll community, and every week we are sitting down, we're spilling the tea and talking about all the that happened in the doll community that week. Doll Diaries is usually about 30 minutes to an hour each week, so it is so much extra content, and it's only $3 for the lowest tier right now, and it goes a really, really long way in supporting my channel, and again, it means the absolute world to me, so I would love it if you would check it out. If you want even more doll content, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at I Dream of Johnny. And until next time, please take care of yourself, and I will see you real soon. Bye for now.